Welcome to another episode of Masonite API development series. I'm Yuvraj Rest, and today we are going to talk about database seeders and factories. In our previous episode, we talked about models. Now we are going to use that model to feed in multiple dummy data into our database. So that's where the seeder comes into play. So seeder is simply a way to quickly seed or put data into our tables. And that's it. So that's the definition of seeder. So if you want to insert massive data for certain models, then in that case we have to use factory. So you can see the documentation for that also here. So let's learn by practicing. We already do have a few models here, like we created few models in our previous episode. So our models are block, category, and user. So let's start by using a default seeder that was provided with Masonite. So this one is the default seeder, user table seeder, where we do have one user being created using model, and that seeder has been called here inside database seeder. Okay, so let's go to our database and see if we have any users there or not. So we do not have any users in our table. Let's try to run python craft seed run. So database seeder seeded. So this should create this user inside our database table. So let's go and refresh. Then you can see we do have one user here. In order to see the list of commands for seeder, what you can do is run python craft help, and here you can see we do have two commands for seeder. The first one, seed, will create a seed file, and seed run will run the seeds that were created. So this is the seeder. Let's create another seeder for category also. So in order to do that, python craft seed categories. So this is our categories class, and here we have our categories table seeder. Let's create, first of all, let's import category from app.models.category import category. So now we have category imported, and let's put these side by side and see. So we need name, slog, and status. So for name, okay, let's say news, and for slog, news, and leave status as it is. And let's call this category seeder here. If you don't call your seeder here, then that seeder won't be called, and that won't do anything. So we import, let's import that here from dot categories table seeder, import categories table seeder. Perfect. Now let's refresh our database by running python craft migrate refresh, and then let's run the seeder python craft seed run. Okay, so database seeder seeded. Let's go back to our database. So this is our default user. So if you go to category, then now you can see we do have this category seeded. What if you need to insert multiple categories or multiple users? So in that scenario, we have to use factories. So from documentation, let's go to documentation and see what factory does and how we can use that. So here is a factory, and creating a factory method. So factory method has a method that takes a single faker instance. So faker, here is the documentation faker, which will help to randomly generate fake data for us. So you can go through all these documentations if you want. Link is here. I'll also post the link in the description down below. So let's start by creating faker. So it says we need factories.py inside config directory. So let's go to config directory and see if we have that or not. So inside config directory, we do not have factories.py. So let's create one factories.py, and let's copy this. Okay, and what else do we need? So we need this one because we need this factory to be registered. So also let's import the class from app.models.user import user, because we are trying to create factory for user. Because this function is not inside class, we don't need this self here, so let's remove that. And here is the code for registration, so let's do that. So we are registering user factory for user class. So in user we need name, email, and password. So name, email, password. Password must be secured, so let's use hash.make secret.decode utf8. You can actually import this hash from masonite.facades.hash import hash, and that's it. So now let's go back to our seeder, not inside database seeder but user table seeder, and let's comment this part because we are going to replace that part by using this line of code. So we are using factory to create 50 users. Let's import that factory from config. So let's import that here, and now instead of one user we are trying to create 50 users and we are using factory. So if we run this factory, then this will call a user factory and that factory will create 50 users. So let's refresh our database. Okay, perfect. Now we do not have any contents inside our database, we do not have any users, but if we run our seed, then that should create 50 users in one category. Python craft seed run. Okay, database seeder seeded. Let's go back to our table and refresh the table. Okay, now you can see we do have 50 users with some random email and name and password. So this is how you can actually you can use factories. Let's create factory for our another table. So div category factory, which is gonna take faker instance as a parameter, and that will return. What do we need here in category? So we need name, slug, and status. So name, let's use faker.name. You can use whatever option you like. Like in faker there are a lot of options to use, but for the sake of simplicity I'm using this one. I'm not sure if faker has this slug, but let's try. We do not need status, so let's register our category and category factory. I don't think faker has this option, I'm not sure. So what I'm gonna do is name faker.name and slug equals to name dot lower dot replace. Perfect. So I'm making like I'm converting all words or whatever we do have here in name to lowercase and replacing all the spaces to dash. So let's use that slug here, and now we do have this category factory. Let's go back to our seeder, and inside categories table seeder, let's reuse the code that we have in user. So let's copy. What is going on? So inside, let's remove this one here and replace that with category, and let's import factory as well. So we are importing factories from config. So here we have factory. So we are trying to create 50 category here. Let's make that 20 and let's refresh our database again. Okay, so category factory is missing one required positional argument. Let's go back to factories and see. Okay, so we did mistake here. Refresh. Now all our contents are removed from our tables, so we do not have any users, we do not have any categories. That's perfect. Let's run the seed. Python craft seed run. Perfect. Now let's go back to our table and refresh. Then now we have 50 users, and let's go back to categories, and now you can see we do have 20 categories. So this is how you can use factory and seeders to feed in dummy data into database. So this is it for this tutorial. In our next tutorial we will talk more about APIs, routes and controllers. So stay tuned. See you again. Bye.